Welcome adventurers, Teddy here with another episode of Loop Hero Academy. Today we are going to be looking at how you can beat the Huntsman, the boss of Chapter 3. He is a formidable opponent made to behave consistently regardless of what kind of build or class you are bringing against him. There is no single easy way out the way Evasion was against the Lich. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't ways to exploit him. There definitely are. There are ways that you can prepare yourself to be able to have much better chances when fighting the Huntsman. So let's get into exactly what he and the Hounds are bringing to the table so that we can begin to unravel the answer on how to beat this terrible foe. And that way you don't end up looking like my rogue does here, getting squashed by the Huntsman and eaten by his Hounds. Check the timestamps in the video if you want to hop to a specific piece of the discussion, or watch all the way through and see everything that I have managed to figure out about this boss. Alright, here we go. Let us break down what the Hunter and his Hounds are bringing to this battle. So, if we look at the Hunter first, he is a cosmic being, he has a soul, and now he and both of his Hounds will have this trait called the Kennel. Damage is increased by 100% and 30% max health is healed after the death of an ally. So we see that both him and the Hounds have the exact same stats here. What this means is that as you pick off members of the group, you make the rest of them angrier, and they refresh themselves to be able to hit you again even harder in battle. They will heal a little bit and they will deal a lot more damage. This is especially scary on the Hounds, who have the ability to critically hit. As we look down below at Jump, escapes to the astral plane after 3 hits and forces the hero to attack another target, returns after 3 attacks and deals a critical hit with 250% damage. Now, 250% damage when they have already had their damage increased, say this is the last Hound, 200%, that is one heck of a KO attack. You need to be able to try and finish them off before that happens, or just have an enormous health pool to be able to avoid that. Or, especially useful is if you could just evade it. Hopping back over to the Hunter, he has the Hunter's Horn, so he fills Hound's attack bar by 50% instead of every second attack. This means that he is kind of the support for his Hounds, egging them on to do most of the damage. This works with them being able to do the critical attacks and other traits that they have running in this encounter. Now, he also has Star Gunpowder here at the very bottom, forces the hero to stop attacking and attack another target instead. So all 3 of these enemies have the ability to force you to bounce your hits around between them and cause you to split your damage rather than being able to focus fire one down and get through the encounter that way. That means that they get the most out of the heal that comes from the Kennel. The best way that you can get through these guys is if you get the Hounds down, if you can land some really big hits. Though then the Hunter is going to be a very nasty opponent, can still be overcome. Let's see that one more time. We were able to drop the Huntsman there at the very end with the Blood Grove coming in to help us out. I was able to get the Blood Grove positioned over the campfire, reducing the enemy's health. We were also, because the encounter drags on for so long, as the warrior here, our damage is ramping up every single second. That means that once we get the one-on-one with the Huntsman, we have the advantage. Even though it looks like he is beating us in the health bar race, our damage has amped up to insane levels. We do seem to get a few key evades against the Hounds with their crazy damage. That is a key to note, is that while they do the exact same kind of dance of invulnerability and then critically attack the way Bloodcots do, or the way Field of Blades do, they do not have the text that says that a critical attack is unavoidable. You can evade it, so building that evasion, even though it is not the single stat that will bring the boss down the way it is for the Lich, it is going to be pretty beneficial in this case. Now, we're going to be rolling gameplay of me playing as the Necromancer in the background, just to show some variety of which classes you can bring against the Huntsman and which can be successful. You saw me fail as the Rogue at the very beginning. That's not to say that I think that you should count the rogue out. I think the rogue definitely has the possibility to beat the huntsman. I get pretty close. I don't quite make it. The thing with the rogue is that it is just based up to RNG on if you get the right items on that final haul when you start your final loop when you're going to fight the boss. You can try and mitigate this RNG by just waiting to find the build that you really want and then purposefully bringing the boss in on that loop. I didn't really do that. I was trying to target kind of an average progression of laying cards down and summoning him. So if you just take a little bit more care and when you bring him in, you can probably do even better than I did. And because I got pretty close, I'm sure the rogue can beat him. To continue the discussion on the rogue, I think that if you are going to go that route, then bring the armory gold card. Getting that amulet with the magic hit point shield at the beginning of every encounter is so beneficial for the rogue. His one downside as a class is that he is not very survivable, and this single addition completely shores up that weakness. It means that you are going to be progressing through the loops way easier, and you are going to be entering the boss battle with hopefully full health and full potions, which means that you just have this enormous stockpile of health resources to be able to drag that fight out and wear down the boss and then win, right? And your options on how you're going to build your rogue, I think, go a couple different directions. You can go for attack speed and high evasion, and that should do fine. You can also bring in counter chance. You're going to be fighting 3 enemies with the huntsman, so counter chance is a pretty beneficial stat. I think that a sleeper build that could be really, really spicy against the huntsman is if you go for a crit build. If you manage to get the kind of damage output that will kill a hound before it is able to turn into a black hole, and then return with its critical attack, means that you will be avoiding so much damage, and you will be really snowballing the encounter in your favor from the very beginning. But it's just a matter of getting that crit build to come together from the items that are presented to you as soon as you sell off your trophies and pass the campfire. So it is probably the more rare build to be able to get to come together, but I think it could be the most effective of any class. When you're looking at traits for your rogue, you're going to want to take Smokescreen. This is going to give you guaranteed evasion for a few seconds after you lose a significant portion of your health bar, which I hope that just makes sense of why it is so good in the boss battle, because the boss's damage is amped up so much, it's easily going to trigger Smokescreen, and then because you have multiple enemies all attacking you, having that moment of invulnerability of all those evasions stacked on top of each other will really help you be a lot more survivable. Another good option is Fuss. Fuss lets you take 7% less damage from multiple enemies starting at the second enemy. So when you're starting with 3 of the enemies in the boss battle, you're going to be taking 14% less damage. Once you kill one of them, you'll be down to 7%, and then once you are down to just a one-on-one, Fuss is not impacting. But it does help you for that start, and for that reason, I think that it will be beneficial. And it's definitely really good against all the other enemies on the loop where you're going to be fighting swarms of enemies. So it is great for both the boss and passing through the loop in this case. Another great option is Child of the Forest. Bring in that rat wolf. I affectionately call him Skaven. He getting to appear. He only has a 75% chance of appearing. I say only. He has a 75% chance of appearing, which means there is a small chance he will not help you out against the boss, but most of the time he will be there as your steadfast companion. And just having the companion there to either do a little bit of extra damage or to absorb a few hits from the boss, again, helps you snowball those early moments of the battle in your favor. Another good skill is going to be Master of Fencing. Having that chance of simultaneously attacking multiple enemies means that you get to really utilize the incredible damage output of the rogue and hopefully overwhelm the hounds or the huntsman early on to, again, snowball the encounter in your favor. Going back to the warrior now, we're going to talk about the Necromancer, which is this gameplay last, but focusing in at the warrior that we saw beat the huntsman earlier on, I don't think that the warrior needs to bring any gold card, particularly with his build. You could go for the armory and give you that reflect damage. It is pretty good for passing around the loop, but honestly I feel like having the reduced quality of the rest of your items is actually hurting you a little bit more. There's argument to be had on either side of there on how much the armor really helps the warrior, but that reflect damage is going to be basically minuscule against the boss. It's not going to do very much work for you, so I don't bring any gold card at all. The build that I go for is attack speed, vampirism, also looking at picking up a little bit of evasion and counter chance. Being able to evade those critical hits from the hounds is amazing. Being able to counterattack off of having multiple enemies attacking you really amps up your DPS. It's a way of fueling your attack speed. Just going the straight attack speed route. I love bringing forests and rivers here. You see this in the gameplay that it is kind of the build of landscape tiles that I continue to gravitate toward because attack speed is so good for all of the classes, and it synergizes incredibly well with vampirism for the warrior, so that can be a way that you're going to get back a ton of health if you are attacking quickly and also counterattacking. You get vampirism off of your counterattacks. That can be the way that your warrior becomes just super durable and survives until the battle draws on, and then his damage has been amping up every single second and you become unstoppable. When you're looking at traits for the warrior, you're going to want to look for either of the crowd control traits, taking Shield Master, giving you a 10% chance of stun on any attack, or a Battering Ram, 75% chance of stunning all enemies on your first attack. Both of those are really useful. The crowd control is so rare in this game and just incredibly potent anytime that you get it. Also taking Article of Protection here, that's going to be the phantom health bar that scales with a percentage of your health. It is pretty nice to have that extra health resource against the boss, just to be able to get that battle to go into the further late game when your warrior's damage amps up even more. Now there's two other trait shoutouts I want to make for Blade of Dawn and Buckler. Blade of Dawn is the one that at the beginning of the day, your first attack is empowered and it does extra damage and it attacks all the enemies. And then Buckler is the one that gives you health back on counter chance, or on counter attacks. These skills are not super focused at being the best against the Huntsman in particular, but they are just so good for clearing the loops. They feed into you being able to have easy clears and keeping your health bar high and your potion count high for entering the boss battle, which does help you against the Huntsman. Those are just some of my favorite skills, and so I'm going to be taking those pretty much anytime I see them. And even though they do not make a huge difference against the boss, they do kind of indirectly benefit you if you are having easier clears of your loops. Finally, moving into the Necromancer that has been stealing the show here on screen, you have to bring the Ancestral Crypt. This is, it is basically essential for the Necromancer. It is so incredibly good. For your build, you're going to do your basic Necromancer build, getting attack speed, bringing up your maximum number of summons, and then the summon quality and the summon level. Being able to get that army of skeletons rolling is always the key for the Necromancer. Having them be the ones who take the critical hits from the hounds or just absorb the enemy's fire in general is a huge advantage. And then it's just so satisfying to see at the end, once you have whittled away the hounds and they're gone, and you have an army of skeletons and the huntsman is just there alone, and suddenly you're the one with the numbers advantage. It feels so satisfying, and it is just incredible. It's how the Necromancer is able to snowball his encounters into his advantage. When you are looking at what traits to bring for the Necromancer, take Art of Control. It looks like the most unexciting skill out there. It just adds +1 to your max skeleton number, but this trait is so rare to get. Every single item can only add a max of +1, so being able to get one for free in the background from this trait, it frees you up so much. You can either bring in items that are better at increasing the skeleton level or the skeleton quality without feeling like you're handicapped to only using items that increase your max summons, or it lets you reach the really, really high numbers of skeleton minions and be able to put some of the ranged skeletons on your side. And because they are untargetable, they can kind of avoid the chaos of the rest of the fight and keep on adding in their damage. And their damage is quite high if you look at the numbers. Then for his other traits, I mean, really, the Necromancer doesn't have any bad traits. Like, all of these traits are so good for him. I'm looking at the list. The key ones to be on the lookout for are going to be Field Practice and Unseen Care. Those are the ones that you want to take early on, your early level ups. Take those over even Art of Control or Horde. Horde. I wanted to mention this. So, Horde, I mentioned this when I'm talking about how to beat the Priestess. I said that this was a great trait for the Necromancer to bring. It is still great here. Being able to get 3 strengthened skeletons at the beginning of the boss fight swings the number advantage actually to your side. Instead of being the one guy fighting 2 hounds and the huntsman, you're the one guy with 3 skeletons, and I think you are guaranteed to get one of the guard skeletons who is going to taunt for you, which is going to guarantee that you are able to build up even more of your summons while all of the enemies are focused on attacking him, and your entire side is free to do damage to them. So this push in the right direction at the very beginning of the boss fight really helps you snowball up to your max size of your horde, and that is key for being able to beat the huntsman. In general, for the landscape, as I've said, I gravitate toward bringing forests and thickets and rivers. And here, we bring in the battle. I'm using Horde, which gives me the advantage here. We are able to bring in our extra summon. The Ancestral Crypt is such a good card for the Necromancer. We're going to go down, and we're actually going to be able to get the revive off of the Ancestral Crypt. Like, I think the Ancestral Crypt would be a strong card, even if it didn't give you the additional full revive, but it does! So we're going to use it right here to be able to come back, and that's going to push the fight into our favor. Being able to keep this consistent lineup of all the skeletons that are absorbing the hits from the hounds, it just makes them unstoppable at the end of the day. And there we go! That is everything that I have learned about how to beat the Huntsman. He is the most stubborn boss that you will face yet. The game is not pulling any punches at this point. And because of his mechanics working with the hounds, it makes him function very consistently regardless of what class you bring against him. But you can turn that into an advantage and just be able to play your favorite class and feel confident that you will be able to make a build that can beat him. I hope this video has helped you guys out. Leave a like or a comment if it has. Let me know if there is anything else in Loop Hero that is causing you trouble. I might be able to give some help in the comments or make a video about it. I am really enjoying putting out content about this game, and hopefully we'll have a complete set of guides on all facets of the game soon. So, thank you guys, and have a good one.